Hello and welcome to Arcade 92. I am your arcade historian, and today we are going to talk about Donkey Kong. The story of Donkey Kong is quite an interesting one that has completely changed and made today what the gaming industry is. Nintendo got its start a very, very long time ago in the late 1800s, that's right, 1800s, as a playing card company. The name Nintendo doesn't have an exact translation into English, but the closest thing that we could probably say would be like luck from the gods, which makes sense, of course, if you're talking about playing cards, like a game of poker. You want luck to be on your side. Now, Nintendo transitioned after Imperial Japan really didn't take too kindly to entertainment. By the time of the late 40s, Nintendo began getting into games, more like board games, more like toys is probably a better way to put it. And there's a lot of old Nintendo toys that are really fun to look up, the toys that they created in Japan in the 40s and the 50s and 60s and so on. The video game craze in North America, specifically, caught the attention of Nintendo, and they thought it was time to take their company across the pond and begin a video game company called Nintendo of America that specifically focused on gaming electronics. The leader of that team was Shigeru Miyamoto, and he brought a team of video game programmers with him who had literally little to no experience. They had dabbled in some gaming before with a game called Radar Scope that was kind of popular in Japan, but not a big hit. Shigeru Miyamoto and his team of now Nintendo of America got to work and wanted to create a video game that mirrored the cultural icons that were in America. And one popular show at the time was Popeye. And Popeye has the love triangle that they thought would make a great video game. So they went to the creators of Popeye and asked for permission to turn their concept into a video game, and they were promptly told no and asked to leave. Much to their dismay, Nintendo really had to go back to the drawing board, but they really liked the concept of this love triangle idea. So they thought, well, maybe we didn't have to go directly after Popeye, maybe we just went for the concept of Popeye. So we have our damsel in distress, Pauline in this case. We had the antagonist, Donkey Kong, and our protagonist, his name for now is Jumpman. The Donkey Kong, the ape, kidnaps Pauline, and it's the job of Jumpman to rescue her. Okay, so that is very similar to the characters that are in the show Popeye. Now, they needed a name to make it not super obvious that they were basically emulating exactly what Popeye was. So at the time, again, looking at the cultural icons, and Shigeru Miyamoto loved the old films, the old American films, such as King Kong. So that is where half the name of Donkey Kong comes from, is a reference to the ape in King Kong. Much of this can be seen as well in the game, where you see that there's scaffolding that Jumpman has to climb up. That's directly taken from the film King Kong. Now, Donkey, where that name comes from, there's a lot of misconception. There's an urban legend going around that it was a mistranslation from Japanese to English, and they were supposed to say Monkey Kong. That is actually not true, as far as we can tell. When interviewing Shigeru Miyamoto, he was looking for a name that, again, fit the character in Popeye, that he was kind of a brute. He was an idiot. He was dumb. So they wanted to emulate that. So the closest thing that they could come up with was emulating an animal that Americans would be used to, and that was a jackass. So in this case, donkey. So what the actual original name, that of course they could not publish in 1981, was Jackass Ape. That was the original aim of this game, but they had to kind of soften it up a little bit to make it more palatable for an American audience. So Donkey Kong was born, and before the game was released, they were renting, Shigeru Miyamoto and his team were renting a space in New York, and their lease was up. They were out of money, they were out of cash. They knew they had a great idea. So Their landlord came to them and said, hey, you guys, you gotta pay up. I've been as gracious as I possibly can. It's time to pay the rent. Shigeru Miyamoto and his team begged for just one more month because they knew what they were about to release was going to hit it big. So at that time, their landlord said, I will give you a little more grace, you have a little more time. The name of that landlord was Mario Sengal, and then the name Jumpman in his honor was changed to Mario. And now today we have Mario Brothers, so his legacy of kindness and graciousness and patience lives on. And now Nintendo, as Shigeru Miyamoto said, he wanted Mario to become just as recognizable as Mickey Mouse. And perhaps he's accomplished that. And come on down to Arcade 92, play Donkey Kong. We've got Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong 3, Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, and even the most latest releases, perhaps, for example, on the Nintendo Switch, of the empire that Nintendo has created from their humble beginnings as Donkey Kong.